don't know. It's got a lot of bend in it. What's the rating?
Rating?
Is it going to hold my weight?
How much does it cost?
I missed that for ages, I don't know.
I'll leave that.
My mode of transport can't be destroyed.
How many people does it take to do hamstring curls? I'll massage your neck while you do it.
Oh, thank God. This is too much stimulus, I can't focus on what I'm doing. Whole team effort there.
Team effort. Tell you what, mate, your arse crack is so sweaty. Look at that.
Today, so I'm not doing anything in between. Yeah. I know you vaguely mentioned it.
I have one. So, remind myself.
My Kevlar short.
Excuse me while I chow down on my vegetable lasagna. So I'm trying to eat a little bit less meat. Basically, gonna go 3 days a week now having a vegetarian meal. This is obviously one of them. So it's lasagna, which has got like lentils, chickpeas, onion, sweet potato, lots of vegetables and that sort of thing. A, because I'm trying to be a little bit healthier. B, just generally I'm trying to eat less animal products, and there is no C, that's basically it. I'm trying to be a bit healthier and trying to eat less animal products. Obviously the challenge with that is getting your protein in, and also calculating your protein. It's very hard to sort of estimate how many lentils I put in, which kind of brings me on to the next thing, which is, it is day one of the diet today. So I have actually been in a deficit the last few days, hence why my weigh-in this morning was actually a little bit low. But today is officially the first day that I'm going to be tracking my weight every single morning when I wake up, and actually going to be tracking all of my food as well. So I was 103, that's quite low, so I don't expect to be that low tomorrow, even though I'm in a deficit. Just I think it was a lot of water weight that came off. But yeah, the plan is obviously to get below 100 kilos, and the reason for that is obviously I am now going to be going for a 3 times bodyweight deadlift, and if I am weighing 120 kilos, that means I'm going to have to deadlift 360 kilos, which just isn't going to happen. So I think it would be easier if I can just drop a little bit of body weight. I mean, I say easier, it's definitely not going to be easier, but I think that's the best chance I have of getting a 3 times bodyweight deadlift. So I think if I aim to go down to around about 100 kilos, maybe even a little bit lower, sort of 95 to 100 kilos, and then go for around 300, 290, something like that, that would obviously be a 3 times bodyweight deadlift. So I'm going to quickly eat this because I'm starving, and then I'm going to talk to you about the plan of how I plan to get to a 3 times bodyweight deadlift. So then, here is my plan. So in terms of training, this is going to be pretty much 100% down to Ben, although I am going to have some input about what exercises I think are really going to be beneficial for me. I've been working with Ben a long time, so he knows me as an athlete and he knows my body, so he knows what exercises work well for me and what variables to the different lifts work for me. So we're going to come up with a 12-week plan really. At the moment we're just rebuilding very slowly, just because obviously we've just come off a big competition, and I want to make sure I'm not injured by diving straight into some really intense prep. So at the moment we're doing like a lot of high volume stuff, and it's fairly generic, I suppose, but as the weeks go by we are going to be pushing back some of the squats and the bench, and obviously we're going to be bringing in more intensity with the deadlifts. So that's really the plan in terms of training. There's not really much more I can shed on that, especially as I pay Ben to have training, so I'm not going to give away all of his programming because that just wouldn't be fair. But in terms of everything else, the things that I can control, this is where it's going to have a big impact, and I think it would put me in a much better position for the British Championships and a lot of competitions that I've done previously. I haven't taken recovery, nutrition, things like that as seriously as I should. You would think going into something like a British Championships that I would be 100% on top of absolutely everything. That's just not me. I don't really have that sort of personality where I have to be really strict and regimented with myself. I just can't really do it. And for that reason a lot of things suffer. So I haven't and I didn't count my calories or track my macros going into the competition, so for all I knew I was consuming way under 100 grams of protein a day. It probably was because I was only having 2 meals a day, and that's a massive part of training in general. You have to be 100% on top of your nutrition, so that's something now I am going to be tracking every day for the next 12 weeks. I'm going to be looking at everything that I'm putting into my body. I'm not going to completely limit myself from things like fast food, but I am just going to be very aware of when I'm having it and if it's actually going to benefit me, or you know, in terms of a psychological point of view, if I'm going to be so strict, when can I have a sort of cheat meal, I suppose, just to stop me going crazy, I suppose. So that's the first thing. I'm going to be really on top of my nutrition. I'm going to pretty much cut out alcohol, so I'm not going to be drinking, definitely not throughout the week. Trying not to on the weekend go out for a beer or anything like that. I have got a holiday coming up in October, which will involve a little bit of drinking, so I've planned for that. I know that week I will be having a few beers, but I still will be training and trying to stay on top of nutrition that week as well. But leading up to that, I'm going to be pretty much going teetotal really, because I think from an inflammatory point of view I need to make sure my body is in the best recovered state that it can be. The next thing is obviously staying massively on top of rehab. I have definitely neglected that side of things as well. I mean, just after a 2.5 hour session, the last thing you want to be doing is spending another half an hour to an hour just stretching. But it's something I'm going to be doing, and I have been doing for the last few weeks since I've started programming again. I have started really incorporating those stretches, especially with my hip flexors. So something I notice with my deadlifts, when I neglect my hips and my mobility in my hips, my knees tend to sort of cave in a little bit on the deadlift, and that puts me in a less than ideal position for the sumo deadlift. So I'm going to be looking at really trying opening up my hips and using that external rotation to help me with my sumo deadlift. So the other things that I'm going to be doing is taking a massive course of steroids. No, not really. What I'm going to be doing is having some supplements, so things like glucosamine, omega-3s, things that are really going to help with my joints, and just generally dosing up on all those friendly vitamins and minerals, so things like ZMA, to help with recovery when I sleep. I actually found when I was taking those before I go to bed I had an improved sleep, and that has been proven to help with recovery as well. So I'm going to be aiming to have at least 8 hours sleep as well. So all of these things combined are going to have a massive benefit for not just how I feel, but just my body composition in general as well. And the fact that I'm going to be losing weight by being in a deficit is just going to help that as well. So just generally being in a less inflamed state and being in a more healthy state is definitely going to put me in a more optimal position if I want to be deadlifting 3 times my body weight basically. So it's nothing new, it's not rocket science, it all is things that I should have been doing for a long time, but I just haven't been doing. So that is the plan going forward. The training is going to look after itself. I've never struggled to have motivation to train really. It's going to be a little bit harder in a deficit, just with motivation, just feeling a little bit lethargic, but that will take care of itself. All of this stuff, which I haven't really been in control of before, so the recovery, the stretching, the diet, drinking alcohol, things like that, I'm gonna have to really focus on, and it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be 12 weeks of hell, really, but that's what I need to do if I want to get to that level and if I want to actually deadlift 3 times my body weight. Anyway, sorry that was a little bit rambly, but yeah, I'll see you tomorrow for my second weigh-in. What is going on with this lid? Alright guys, gonna wrap up the video now. Obviously just been 2 days into this cut and prep. Everything's feeling fine. My left knee was feeling a little bit dodgy today, and I was a little bit apprehensive about going into the gym, but actually it wasn't really anything to worry about. It's just adapting to higher reps and the DOMs and everything like that, so my quads were just getting quite tight. So I just need to make sure I'm staying on top of the stretching and working a little bit of hamstrings as well, because I find when I actually train my hamstrings and strengthen them, it does actually help alleviate some knee pain. So I'm going to make sure I'm on top of that as well. Obviously diet's been fine for the last couple of days, just because it's early doors. You wouldn't expect me to be making too many mistakes in my diet this early on. Well, you probably would actually, but still. But yeah, everything's fine, everything's good. We're going to wrap up the video. Yeah, I mean, everything's going to be a little bit boring at the moment, just with the type of training I'm going to be doing and the diet and everything, but I'll try and track it, try and keep on top of it, and I hope you guys will remain interested in this little journey towards 3 times bodyweight deadlift. So, hope you've enjoyed it. Please leave it a like if you have, subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Peace.